It's time for MacBreak Weekly, episode 203. Alex, Andy, and Frederick Van Johnson are here. Coming up, we debate OS 10 with or OS 11. And maybe it should go open source. That and more coming up with MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 203, recorded July 13th, 2010. That's our Lenny. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Gazelle, the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. Collect your used gadgets and Gazelle them today at Gazelle.com. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/MacBreak. And by Drobo, the original S Pro and the new Drobo Elite, offering expandable storage products for individuals, small businesses, and creative teams. For more information and instant rebates, visit drobo.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers everything that's happening out of the little city of Cupertino, California. Now here, joining us live in studio, Mr. Alex Lindsay of pixelcore.com.
Yes.
Hello, Alex.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is me.
Yeah, I am here.
I am here. Also joining us right now, Mr. Frederick Van Johnson from MediaBytes.com.
Hello, ladies.
Oh, I got a chill. That just said
I had to go down an octave for that. Yeah.
Hello, ladies. And now, ladies and gentlemen, also with us in his beautiful solarium, Mr. Andy Ihnatko.
Thank you very much. I thought that this show would be in praise of the Earth Goddess, whose name, oddly, in our neighborhood is Carl.
Is that your backyard? That's beautiful out there.
That is the backyard. If I had thought about this more than a half hour in advance, I probably would have actually figured out how to get the lighting correctly so you can see the lovely greenery.
Well, the camera does it automatically. If you duck out of the way, the camera irises over.
Just stay like that. Just stay.
Just do the show like that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. What we need is we need to get you some.
What the hell? You killed it. Hello, ladies.
Buster, out.
Oh, he's so plush.
We need to send Andy some ND filter.
No, I think for the Windows.
It's all part of my plan. If I keep sandbagging the audio quality, the video quality, and you keep correcting things for me, you'll say, you know what, you just kept bouncing around that chair. We're gonna send you $1,000 desk chair, just to sort of solve that problem.
I think you're right. No, you actually look good. We sent out a HV40. A Canon camera, and that really looks very nice. A PR40. Everything we do has 40 in it.
Yes.
And he's in the back 40.
Including what I'm drinking right now. I bought that one myself.
Yeah, we didn't send you the 40. But if you need it, we'll send it out to you there. All right, it's time to talk about, what else? I almost don't even want to do it. The iPhone, still in the news. I ain't bitter. I'm in a case, but this is the big story today is that Consumer Reports finally did the full test of iPhone, rated it very highly as a smartphone. In fact, if you just look at the numbers, the highest rated smartphone in its rundown, but did not give it their recommended badge because of antenna
So
problems.
they rated it the highest, but didn't recommend it. So they think we should go back to Motorola, like a Razr?
No. They probably, I don't, I should look. Actually, I'm a subscriber. I should just look and see what they recommended, but it isn't the iPhone. They said that they took it into their special room that is RF attenuated, so there's no signal from outside. It's an RF, quiet room, and they have their own simulator that simulates reception. And they said, yes, if you bridge that lower left-hand plastic bar, it does, in fact, as everybody's observed, as I've observed, cut signal. They said if you're in a marginal signal area, you will drop calls. And they said this is independent of AT&T. I think that's an important finding, that because they weren't using AT&T.
Here's the question I have, though, is it when it attenuates, when it goes down, is it worse than the 3GS, or is it just?
They said yes. In fact, they recommended the 3GS.
What I was going to say is that my experience, I am in poor cell coverage both at home and at work, and I have found that that I have to be much more careful with the 4 than with the 3GS about where I'm standing and what I'm doing with my phone.
I dropped 2 calls yesterday. It was a nice feeling. Because I have a case and I took the case off. I thought, oh, this, I shouldn't really be doing it with the case because it's not going to give me a reasonable, sense of what the problems are. And the minute I took the case off, I dropped 2 calls. But that's at home where I have a fairly weak signal.
I have gotten very good at holding it like this, though.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, and Consumer Reports also said that it is not a software glitch. But I don't think, I think that's a misreading a lot of people had of that Apple letter, which was that it was, oh, we'll fix it in software. That's not what they were saying. They just said we're gonna make the bars lower so you won't have the false expectation that you're not going to drop a call, something like that. Right. Your thoughts, Frederick, Andy? Any?
Well, you know what? I first of all, I love my iPhone, and I'm kind of happy that all this positivity is being cut with a little bit of negativity, so people can stop bothering me about, hey, how do you like your iPhone 4? So I'm kind of happy with that. Mine has this bumper on it, and for one, it makes it a little bit easier to handle. So I'm happy with that. And B, I've gone to a friend of mine, Mark Fuccio, told me that he uses his phone mostly with the headphone jack plugged in. So he's always got the little blue headphones hanging out. So I tried that. And it's great. So I'm listening to podcasts. A call comes in. I hit the button. The phone stays in my pocket. So I don't really, my workflow with the phone is not holding it in my left hand up to my head while I drive my stick shift.
Which I always feel like I'm cooking my brain when I do that.
Well, that's that's a good point. And also I should point out that when you do that, the proximity sensor, which is also screwed up, causes you to mute or send dial tones, which are very annoying down the phone. I've done that many times. I've been on the phone.
I think it's your skin. Mine doesn't do that at all.
Mine doesn't do that.
Apparently, it's not all iPhones. It's a bug.
Oh, okay.
Does Andy, any thoughts? You actually purchased one. Are you regretting it?
I mean, the simplest thing that I can say in response to all the problems, and a lot of them are really, are real problems, is that, Apple loaned me a couple of phones for my review, but I went ahead and I bought my own. Even though I knew
that's a sign.
That there was an antenna problem. It doesn't really affect me, although I can reproduce it in certain places. And when
you say it doesn't affect you, you say it doesn't affect you because of how you use the phone or because you have good signal?
Because I have good signal, like Frederick, I just prefer to have it in a bumper case anyway, so that's a non-issue. But I think the big deal is that Consumer Reports tends to be very, very Spock-like when they review anything, for good or for ill. They will go through a protocol and a bullet list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they tend not to end their test by looking at the device as a whole. And the thing is, yes, there are a couple of real problems with this, but the thing is, as a whole, there are so many improvements to the iPhone, including signal reception, including GPS, including data speeds, and now we're not even talking about the camera or the screen, that I just don't think that should be a deal-breaking issue. Again, put a case on it, which is something you really should do anyway, and the problem goes away if you ever were going to be having it to begin with.
Well, I have to admit, I'm getting a case for it not because of the reception, which I think is, I kind of like dropping calls, as we've talked about in the past. But I want to put one on because I dropped my iPhone. Fortunately, I dropped it on rubber at the house. But I was like, this is glass on the back. And a lot of people are going to drop them. And there's a lot of drops that I've had with my iPhone, my older iPhone, that would have broken, cracked, whatever. So I'm putting this in a case not because of the reception, because I'm afraid of breaking the back.
I'll be honest. I was very worried about that when I saw the first design. I'm really not worried about it right now. I've seen enough drop tests and I've collected enough stories from other people that I don't believe that the iPhone 4 is any more fragile than the iPhone 3GS or anything before it. You can, even if you just go on YouTube, you can find videos of people doing just a static drop test on asphalt, and they drop it once, nothing happens, drop it twice, nothing happens, drop it the third time, it stops working, drop it the fourth time, you actually get a broken back. Right. The other interesting thing, and unfortunately I can't get... and I've gone through official channels and come up dry. I can't get Apple to talk to me about any decisions that went into the selection of a glass back. I was actively soliciting stories from people who had dropped and broken a phone. I didn't say, did you break the back? I simply said, if you have dropped and broken a phone, I want to hear from you. I've heard from, by now, about 23 people, of whom only 3 have broken a screen. All the rest have broken just the back piece. So it makes me wonder if there is either a quirk in the design or an intentional part of the design that says, if you got to sacrifice one part of this to a drop, how about we make this make the sacrifice be the cheap and easy to replace back? So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's interesting that I'm having so many people tell me about broken backs as opposed to broken screens.
Yeah, the back is apparently not the gorilla grass that they've
Gorilla grass?
Yeah, it's not. So the front is different.
Okay.
Thank you, Gorilla Glass.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was saying Gorilla Glass.
Well timed.
He is from like the Northern Bay, so he probably has access to certain things that we in New England have never been able to.
Gorilla Glass. So, David Hannemeyer Hansen, the author of Ruby on Rails, somebody in the chat room just tells me, thank you, Dr. Fizzlix, that, I'm sorry, I can't help but giggle at your handle, that David Hannemeyer Hansen, who is in Danish, U.S., kind of bi-countryal, boy, this is going to be a bad show, I could tell right now, says that it doesn't, it affects him in the U.S. and not in Denmark. So it could be the carrier. In fact, I also have a link to
well, I mean, I think this is all.
Hold on, mobileanalyst.com/WordPress, Bob Egan's, I'm sorry, mobileanalyst.wordpress.com, Bob Egan's apparently an RF engineer. He says Consumer Reports did it all wrong. So there's, there's also some dissent about how Consumer Reports did the measurements.
Well, and I think the other thing.
I did run that past a couple of radio engineers I talked to. They didn't necessarily tell me that their procedure was wrong, but that there is a valid radio test, and then there is a test that you have to question. If you want a really valid scientific test, you have to remove every possible variable from the room so that you know exactly what's going on in there, and they're not satisfied that they did a test that could really back up that claim that they did a scientific test. They're not doubting the results. They're simply saying that if you want to use this as a smoking scientific gun test, this isn't it.
Well, and I think also that this is exasperated by the fact that the AT&T network sucks.
Yeah,
you're exasperated. It's exacerbated.
It's exasperated.
Either way, it's a sarsaparilla.
It's respirated.
Yeah. So, according to Leander Kahaney in the Cult of Mac blog, he says he spoke to a number of PR experts, including Chris Lehane, former Clinton White House master of disaster, the man who handled the PR problems in the White House when Clinton was president. They agree Apple is going to have to do a recall. Professor Matthew Seeger, who is an expert in crisis communication, says Apple, quote, Apple will be forced to do a recall of this product. It's critically important, and here's the important point, and I think this might be a good point. The brand image is the most important thing Apple has. More important than any phone or the cost of recalling a phone is preserving their brand. Do you agree, Alex?
Well, I don't think they need to do a recall. I do think that Apple should say if you have this problem and you want to fix it, you can come into an Apple store and we'll give you a bumper. They should give us they should at least give us a bumper. No, the thing is that if that's really the issue, I think that's all they have to do. And these bumpers,
this isn't like a Toyota gas pedal sticking issue. Nobody's dying here.
But they can just say, just come in and we'll give you a bumper. If this is a problem for you, number one, if this is a problem for you, you probably had it for less than 30 days. You can just take it back. If you really don't like this, just take it back. But if you want to
satisfied with Apple's response to date?
No, I really think Apple should give away bumpers, and then this would all go away, and it would cost them. Here's the deal:
it's a lot cheaper than calling back the phone.
I don't think they need to call back the phone. I think that a black bumper for all the phones that they've released so far and all the ones that they're going to release is going to cost them $10 or $15 million. This is chump change to them. And if they buy them that many, just think of that. They're going to be 30 cents
Lehane
each.
said the half-baked, I probably didn't use the word baked, the half-baked response from Apple didn't do anything to solve the problem. In fact, just raised a red flag so the Consumer Reports would investigate the problem. So, in other words, he's saying Apple did not handle this effectively. Andy, go ahead.
I'm just saying I didn't like this story at all. You're talking to PR people who have no intimacy with Apple, so they don't know what the situation is. I know the credits for some of these guys, but not all of them. And they don't. And it's great that you work for the Clinton White House, but those of us with long memories know that Bill Clinton had certain problems that Steve Jobs never had.
Yeah, I mean, likening this to Toyota or Bill Clinton is kind of far-fetched. It's not that bad.
The big problem is that if they do a recall, they are saying explicitly, we have a design flaw in our product. We let something out there that should not have been released, as opposed to simply saying, hey, you know how we always do like a bug fix about a month or 2 months after the release of a product? We're doing that right now. There's a free update. Go and download it. And also, you know how oftentimes we'll do a revision B of a motherboard because we found a better way of manufacturing something? We're doing that too. The same thing that we do with every product that we develop. I don't know what Apple should be doing in this sort of circumstance, but to say that they have to protect the brand, that's just overreaching.
You agree, Frederick? You think this is not a big deal? You got a case.
Yeah, I gotta say I don't think it's a big deal, and I agree with Alex. I think giving out a bumper to all the people that are affected by this is probably the right thing, except for the folks that already bought bumpers like me. They're gonna have to.
What is it? It's like $30 too for that piece of rubber.
It's 30. You know, it's
outrageous.
Same price as the camera connection kit for the iPad for a little piece of plastic like this. You know,
here's what they should. Oh, so go ahead. I'm sorry. So I was interrupting. Go ahead.
No. So I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's brand damaging. I think what was brand damaging was the response, and you know, kind of the aloofness in the beginning.
I agree. I think they have to be more aggressive now.
A different way. You know, we thrust upon you this bauble of a wonderful piece of technology. Just hold it differently, and you know, so that piece kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But you know, the phone itself, I think, is just crazy good, and I don't think they need to recall it. I think the bumper thing would probably solve it, or at least stick a cork in all this mess that's going on right now.
Yeah, and I don't think they needed to do the bumper at the beginning, but I do think this is the danger of Steve responding to things.
Don't let Steve.
Well, no, there's been a lot of things that people enjoy, and I think it's been good for Apple in a lot of ways to have Steve responding to things. But when he responds off the cuff, this is what unwrapped this whole. Like to him, it was just like
hold it different, and that became a problem.
I think for him, he spent an enormous amount of time producing an incredible piece of communications equipment, and people are complaining about the reception, which I'm sure he cares about very little, you know, and so I think he was just like, you know, I mean, I know I would be. I was like, I worked on all this stuff. There's all these cool things, and you're complaining about the bars going down a couple points, you know.
Yeah.
And so
well,
I think
that's the problem, because it isn't bars going down a couple of points. It's if you hold the damn thing in your left hand, you drop calls. That's not. Yeah. That's not. This is a phone.
I should be careful to say that I don't think that people are just whining about this. I think that there are more problems associated with the iPhone 4 than we've seen in most other Apple products. The question is, how best should Apple be responding to this? And it's weird. See, the thing is, they have a certain amount of latitude because they're going to be able to point to, if they want to sort of say that this is a perfect phone, they can point to millions and millions of people who are not experiencing these problems.
Right.
But that's never the reason why you withhold a phone. It's because you found that one Toyota that does go off the gear and hit an inconvenient number of tour boats on the way down into the water. That really bites in the bum.
That was the analogy I was going to give you. Toyota could say, "Look, how many people haven't died." Yeah. But that doesn't really solve the problem. And again, this is not the same category of PR problems for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's not fatal. In fact, you would be hard pressed to show damages. Second of all, it doesn't happen to, I would say, the vast majority of people. And third, it's easily fixed by something that doesn't really change the phone. In fact, Consumer Reports said you could put duct tape on it and that would fix it.
That would be
that's a typical Consumer Reports answer, by the way.
If I mean, Alex's solution is good, and you know, Fred, if you're worried about like people like us who are actually paying money for them, what Apple can do is they can keep like the $30 bumper case as is. The ones they give away for free will have, "Here you go, you stupid whiner. Are you happy now?" written on the side of it. So
I for one would welcome that. I'd love to have that.
You know what I think though. You know, all this banter back and forth about it drops calls from time to time. You might have to put a case on the thing, but you know, if you take a step back and look at the technology that we have available to us in this thing, or in all these phones, these Android phones, everything, and you contrast that with what we had just 5 years ago, you know, with the Blackjack and all these other, you know, wannabe phones out there. You know, I heard somebody the other day complaining that the iPhone 4 didn't have an HDMI output on it. You know, I'm like, do you realize what you have in your hand?
I love that line. You know, it'd be so great if it only had HDMI, like it's some sort of movie player.
Did you
exactly?
You've seen the CK.
Let me read you a page from my grandfather's immigration diary. That's time he spent on the back of a goat down from the Italian Alps to get here to the country, and then tell me that the lack of HDMI is a problem for you.
Thank you.
You saw the CK Lewis on.
I love CK Lewis.
Did you see him on
the iPhone?
No, talking about people complaining about technology.
Yeah, airplane flights. He
Yeah,
says,
you're
flying
through like when you're talking about the phone, you're like, just give it a second. It's going to space. Yeah, just give it a second.
He's actually
it's a great.
It is funny because it's true. I mean, it's a great bit. I think it's on YouTube. He was on Conan.
It's on Conan O'Brien. If you do a search for CK, it's really great. I mean, that clip is. Every time I think I'm going to complain about something, about technology, I have to just watch that to recenter myself. Of just like, okay, let's get a grip. That we're it's definitely
Louis CK is the name of the comic.
Oh, sorry, Louis. I always think of it as CK Lewis. It's Louis CK.
Yeah,
and he's got his own show coming out, I think. And this Conan O'Brien appearance was.
I'll play just a little bit of it because I'm sure this violates every tenet in the book. And we like to do that.
In a way, good, because when I read things like the foundations of capitalism are shattering, I'm like, maybe we need that. Maybe we need some time where we're walking around with a donkey with pots clanging on the sides.
You think that would just bring us back to reality?
Yeah, because everything is amazing right now and nobody's happy. Like, in my lifetime, the changes in the world have been incredible. When I was a kid, we had a rotary phone. We had a phone that you had to stand next to, and you had to dial it.
Yes.
You realize how primitive? You're making sparks in a phone, and you actually would hate people with zeros in their numbers because it was more like, oh, this guy's got 2 zeros. Screw that guy. And then if they called and you weren't home, the phone would just ring lonely by itself. And then if you wanted money, you had to go in the bank for when it was open for like 3 hours. You had to stand in line, write yourself a check like an idiot. And then when you ran out of money, you just go, well, I can't do any more things now. I can't do any more things.
That's it, yeah.
That was it. And even if you had a credit card, the guy would go, ugh, and he'd bring out this whole shunk, and he'd write, you'd have to call the president to see if you have any money.
It's all true, kids. You had to call the president, yeah. It was ridiculous.
Yes.
Do you feel that we now, in the 21st century, we take technology for granted?
Well, yeah, because now we live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots that don't care, because this is what people are like now. They got their phone, and they're like,
here it is.
It won't. Give it a second. It's going to space.
I have to say that's very apt. And Louis C.K.
That's exactly what was in my brain.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. It's like we just really we're spoiled bitches. That's frankly
we have
the case.
this phone that just does. I mean,
yeah.
There's a guy who shot. Did you see the music video that was shot on the iPhone? There's a music video that was shot on the completely on the iPhone 4 that looks great.
Was it edited on the iPhone?
No, it was edited on Final Cut.
Yeah.
But it was completely shot on the iPhone, over a couple of days or whatever, and then shot. And the thing
Do you
is,
think it's a good video? I mean, it's not. Somebody was telling me it's not as good as the Flip. Was that you who were saying that?
I haven't tested it head to head with the Flip yet.
You say it's not as good as the Flip? That was Andy, I think. Yeah.
No, it's not as good as the Flip, but it'll do.
You got it in your pocket, and you have sort of a phone and a pretty darn good camera.
Yeah.
I have to say, I take a lot of pictures with it. Frederick, you're the host of This Week in Photography. This is a good camera.
You know what? This is a really good camera, and it's a really good video device as well. And I'll tell you, the thing that my phone can do that my, say, G9 or even my DSLR can't do is I can go sit in a cafe somewhere, edit my photos, and share them with the world right there. And that's the big thing for me is just, I don't care. Yeah, it's an iPhone. I'd be happy if my Nikon or my point and shoot could also have Wi-Fi and connect and allow me to edit and then upload directly from there. But right now it's all in the one device. And that, for me, that's a game changer.
Yeah,
now, no computer, no iPad, no anything. It's just in my back pocket. I can actually share images.
We're going to take a break, come back with more. We're talking about not just the iPhone, but what we haven't done in ages is talk about a Macintosh computer. Is there anything to say at all about Macintosh computers today? I noticed this, I do a regular piece on a local news channel every Tuesday morning. I talk about the tech news. And for the last 4 weeks, it's been cell phones, maybe a little Google, a little Facebook. The world has changed. This show, when we first started doing it, was a computer show.
Yeah. These are the computers.
These are the computers.
This computer is the computer in this one. I don't know about this one. In my old iPhone, the computer was 6 times faster than what I rendered film shots for Star Wars. So
what?
No, I'm sorry, 3 times faster. 3 times faster than what I film shot for Star Wars. That's kind of amazing. So this one is about probably more than that, 4 or 5 times faster than what I. And these were so these are. I mean, they may look like
they
phones,
are computers,
but these are computers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I'm sorry to say that does reflect the level of interest that Apple seems to be showing in the Mac platform.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of almost an also-ran now.
At some point, I mean, I'm starting to get. I'm not bored yet with iOS, but I realize now over the past few weeks how edgy I am about announcements about Mac OS 11. Not 10.7. I'm waiting for Mac OS 11 now.
and you might be waiting a while, Andy. I hate to tell you.
I think that's going to be the one. I still think that's going to be the one that says we're now releasing Mac OS 11 in open source.
I really like that.
We're now releasing iOS X. Like, oh no!
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get a screen cleaner for my MacBook now. Oh,
I think open source OS 10 would be the best thing that ever happened to professionals like me, because it means that we could buy whatever hardware we want and put the OS 10 on it, and we wouldn't.
I think we should just start this campaign now.
Yeah, I mean that's they should.
No. It will never happen. It will never happen, and it never should happen. The worst thing that can happen to a consumer grade anything is to open source the entire thing and trust the developer community, not just they're very good technically as a community, but in terms of direction and figuring out exactly what consumers want. I love Ubuntu. I use Ubuntu, but my house is free of Ubuntu and open source operating systems I actually want to use on a daily basis.
Now, what if one was blessed by Apple, though? A version of it, a version in hardware that's blessed by Apple, and the rest of it you can do whatever you want with. So the idea is, if you want it safe and you want to be a consumer, you can have it
that's
be.
That's a perfect way to sell.
The thing is, Apple just says we approve this version of the OS and we approve these pieces of hardware. You people can submit it to be blessed by Apple, and if you want to take it on your own, you want to go down and put it on whatever crazy hardware you want and do whatever crazy thing you want to do to the OS. You can, because Apple's done with it. I think the bottom line is that I still think within 5 years Apple's going to be done with OS 10. They're going to be done with non-IO. So the question is, what are they going to do with it? And I think that giving us professionals control. I mean, a lot of people use Linux. Because I think that for a consumer, I don't think it matters. I think consumers are using iPads and iPhones. When I look at what consumers do with their hardware, that's all they're going to use. And the professionals are the ones that want to tweak it all the way out, because I think you
gain an advantage too when you open it to a community, that you get a chance to have stuff developed. Here's the deal. You would develop new stuff for it.
I want to build a hardware keyer. We build keying software. What am I going to build that hardware keyer in? Linux.
Yeah.
Why am I going to do that?
Really?
Because I need to build.
You need OS.
I need to build a piece of hardware, and then I need to connect it all. And I guess I could try to gut a Mac Mini or gut something out. But if I want to build something to the size that I wanted to build it in with the components that I want, I have to use Linux to do that. And the thing is if OS 10 was open source, I could use OS 10 and just add the little bits that I need, or just the fact that I could install it on a PC platform without needing that extra chip. But that's the that's the issue.
I'm with Andy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say, as long as you're making wishes, why don't you wish that Apple will build that thing for you and give it to you for free?
They won't, though. They're not interested. It's a truck.
Well, they're also not interested in open sourcing the OS. I mean, it just doesn't play into any of their interests
from a financial point of view.
Well, it's like
they would correctly say that, well, if you like open source that much, Linuxes are really, really wonderful. They're completely open. There's hardware specifications where if you want to build your own motherboard, you can do that. I mean, I don't know what this. I just don't see the advantage to not only Apple but also the Apple community to have a completely open source version of the Mac OS.
I think the advantage is it would take a lot of worry off of people who. I mean, Apple is done with OS 10. I mean, the thing is that it's gonna draw out, and they're gonna be done with it in the next 5 to 10 years. They're not gonna develop.
They're also gonna be done with iOS in the next 5 or 10 years. That's a hell of a long time.
Yeah, 5 or 10 years. Who knows? We'll be in space, right? I mean,
but the thing is that within the next 5 years they're gonna be done with OS 10. I think, and I think
they'll be on to OS 11.
What? Yeah, maybe they're not gonna build. They're not gonna build these. They're not building. I
don't think you need to know. Well, okay. This is such a good conversation. I do want to take a break. We'll come back. I want to follow up on this conversation. Do we need an OS 11, and what would an OS 11 look like? I mean, That's an interesting question in and of itself. Before we do that, though, I do want to mention our friends at Gazelle. I know there are people getting new iPhones. In fact, I know you say I'm in a conundrum right now.
I have a cognitive dissonance because I have a 3GS and I look at it and it's beautiful and I think, oh, I could get a lot of money from it from Gazelle, but I don't know if I want to keep it. And I never had that problem before. I just keep everything and run it into the ground. But now that there's Gazelle's out, I'm like, oh, I could make some money with it.
So the deal is, if you go to gazelle.com/iPhone. Now, sometimes I get notes from people saying, hey, Gazelle said they'd give me $200 for my iPhone. Then when I sent it to them, they said the cracked screen would lower the amount of money they'd give. You got to be honest about the condition of the phone. You're not going to get, but if you want it, but this really works. We've done it a number of times. I've done it. Lisa sent a whole box back to Gazelle. Here's the deal with Gazelle. Gazelle is the easy way to sell or recycle the used gadgets lying around your home or office. You collect your gadgets. You send them to Gazelle, they send you money. I mean, what could be bad with that? So if you go to gazelle.com/iPhone right now, this is for people who say, I've got a 3GS or a 3G or even the original iPhone, and you want to trade it in so you can get the iPhone 4. Select your model, and it starts all the way at iPhone 2G. I guess that's not really the name, but that's what they're calling it, 4 gigabyte, all the way up to, you could sell your iPhone 4.
How much you get for your iPhone 4?
A 32 gig iPhone 4, and now then you of course have to say, does it make a call successfully? Yeah, sure it does. Yeah. Rate the overall condition, perfect.
You have to shout a little bit to hear it across the room, but yeah.
AC adapter, original cables. I got everything. In other words, perfect condition. It's in the box. Wouldn't that be funny? $493 it's worth.
Wow.
So that's an interesting. I got one in the box. I just got yesterday. The people who ordered on day 2 are now getting their iPhones, their iPhone 4s. So anyway, here's the idea. You call them. In many cases, they will send you a box that you fill up with not just your iPhone, any kind of gadget. Your smartphones, MP3 players, ebook readers, laptops, cameras, gaming consoles, GPS devices, video games, whatever. Now, either they will give you cash if the gadgets are worth anything, and they'll tell you how much that they plan to give you. Of course, that's pending their inspection of it. By the way, they delete all data routinely, so that's nice. I mean, they're not going to mess.
Just in case you didn't, but you should.
You should, of course. but a lot of times people go, "How do I get rid of the data on here?" Oh, I don't know. So they'll do that. They of course do it. And if they can't, if it's not worth anything, and a lot of really old stuff isn't, they will help you recycle it responsibly. And I really like this part of Gazelle. They use in the U.S. recyclers, no export, no landfill, no use of prison labor. All their recycling partners are recognized by the EPA. They have a documented environmental management system, independently audited. Right now they're using Cloud Blue, but they have other great domestic recyclers that are all ban certified, and that's key. So you're not sending this to China for child labor to dismantle, and this is so also a great way to recycle. I think we talk about Gazelle as selling stuff, but a great way to recycle too. GAZELLE.com/iPhone. It is time to upgrade and get the most money you can. In most cases, my experience has been you'll get at least your $200 back.
And the time to do it is now. I mean, it's not going to get better.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. I love this. They show you a graph whenever you enter in of the value as it's and already, today the iPhone 4 is at its maximum average price, but they predict by August it'll be worth $100 and another $50 by October 10th. $170 less.
This is like a depressing version of Bing. It's like,
sell it now if you're going to sell it. I love this company. They're really great. If you have a nonprofit, check out their nonprofit pages as well. They'll make a page for your nonprofit, like a bake sale. Only you say to all your families in the soccer team or whatever, send your gadgets to Gazelle. We get the money. I think that's such a great thing. GAZELLE. Gazelle. Don't sell it. Gazelle it at gazelle.com/iPhone. So OS 11. Andy, you keep saying OS 11. Do you know anything?
I don't know anything specifically. When I say OS 11, I don't mean the next version of the OS. I mean something that is as radically different from OS 10 as OS 10 was from OS 9.
Right.
The moment where Apple says that we always knew that we're going to get the iPod off of its feet and bring its OS to the forefront of the mobile experience. That's done. That's on its. We're still working on it, but we feel as though we've got the walls up, we've got the roof on, and it's ready to go in and of itself. Now it's time for us to start looking back at macOS and see things that we need to be doing there. And I don't really think that we'll ever see the loss of the desktop version of Apple operating systems. I think they're going to get a lot closer to each other between the desktop and the mobile version. Wouldn't think it would be ridiculous to have the exact same operating system, except they're just being articulated differently on both platforms. Actually, that's sort of what we have right now, because people forget that at the core of the iPhone operating system, or iOS, is still OS 10.
Right.
But really, the idea that Apple will ever get out of the desktops, it's a relationship with customers that will always be good for Apple, will always be making a lot more money, will never be getting the design awards, and it will never be getting, the sort of people with lines up around the block to purchase a DVD in a black folder. But I'm really impatient to see the next version, and I know that Apple's probably at least marginally as impatient as I am to figure out what the next job is going to be.
Web1297 in our chat room actually makes a salient point. He said, no mention at the WWDC of even 10.7. I mean, this is not on Apple's radar.
Well, I think the other thing is, I think when you think about some of the advantages for Apple of open sourcing something like this, or licensing it, but especially
you're not going to drop this, and I love you for it.
I'm not going to drop it, and I'll tell you why. Is because this would be Apple is taking a lot of ground with the iPhone and the iPad. You combine this with an open source version of OS 10, and it destroys the Windows and Linux market. I mean, it would chew the Linux and Windows market into small little pieces.
Well, it's based on BSD. It's based on Darwin is an open source.
I mean, everything's open source except for the interface.
It's just the top part, the Aqua, and all that, and QuickTime, which is kind of the family jewels. You got to be careful because so much of what is in iOS 4.
Yeah, but they strip QuickTime into nothing. I mean, QuickTime's just a video player now. I mean, it's right. All the stuff that was good about
that. I know.
I am bitter about it. So the thing is, but I think that this is part of what they're doing is that they are not interested in trucks anymore. They are a car company. And they're selling cars, and I think that they're really I think they're done. I think that I love my computer.
I'm curious about, Alex, is what we haven't mentioned is the whole cloud piece of this. And I've heard rumors of we all know Apple's building out the big data center.
That's where Microsoft's going. Microsoft
what's
seems to be going to the cloud.
I mean, is it going to be woven into this macOS 11 or this hybrid of macOS 11 and iOS, or how is it all going to play out?
And I just think that there is a limited supply of great engineers, and I think that Apple is going to keep on taking their best engineers and pushing them towards the iPhone, pulling them out of OS 10.
I think they may be forced to do this.
And pushing them into continuing to develop that platform, because this is the place where Apple can own 80%. On the desktop, Apple's got a good reason to get rid of the desktop or to damage the desktop market, and that is because they lost that battle. They have 10% or 15%. They could have 80%, but it's going to take all of Steve's focus, all of their management focus, and all of their engineering focus to make sure that they stay in front of Android, in front of those other things. And I just think that I think that the branding damage that would be done if they just killed the OS would be devastating. And so I think that the easiest way for Apple to wring its hands of something that they don't want to focus on anymore would be to either license it or to open source it, but not until it's a small percentage of their income, which is not yet.
But I absolutely disagree with the premise that desktop OS is not something that Apple is interested in.
Okay.
I think
well, they still require it, right? You can't develop without it. You can't activate an iPhone without it.
I think that Apple doesn't have the slightest interest in owning 80% of the desktop market. I think that they've found a way to succeed with desktops. That they're not going to, if they never amount to more than 10% of the desktop market ever, that's fine. I think that's a smart role too, because what we tend to ignore is that everybody who's in this conversation, I think that most of the people who are listening to us right now are people who really care about the tools that they use. We chose Macs, or at least initially, because it was better than anything else out there, and we had specific needs and specific desires for our hardware and for our software. But I think that 80% of the market does represent the people for whom I don't care. I want a computer that turns on, lets me word process, doesn't get in my way until I can leave my office and go home and forget I even have to deal with computers ever. And I don't think you're ever going to win those people over with macOS.
Well, no, I think that, as I said, I don't think they want 80%. I don't think Apple wants 80% of the desktop. I think they want 80% of the iPhone/iPad, whatever market you call that. I think they've just given up on the desktop.
I think Apple's going to go where the money is. That's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Well, and there's lots of money in the desktop too.
Is there?
For the moment. But I mean, it's
what
just
percentage
fast.
of profits does mobile computing now represent for Apple? It's got to be more than half now, right?
I think it's they sold
if you
more
include
iPads.
iPod, iPhone, and iPad.
I think they sold more iPads than computers on the last quarter. I'm not 100% sure of that. So I think that it's, and I'm just looking at also how I use the computer. I used to be umbilically attached to my laptop. I mean, I just never went anywhere without it. And now I'm noticing how much I use my iPad.
Maybe not the best test case because we all come from that generation that we wanted a computer, and maybe that's not the test case. I'm looking at your kid Malachi, who is what, 3?
He's 2.5. He knows
he's
more
an
about
iPad
the iPad
user.
Oh, he just gets up in the morning, he's got bedhead, and he's like, iPad? You know, like he's not, and he's not interested in my computer. He's interested in the iPad. And when you look at my, our parents, our kids,
and it's not that that's not a computer. We're not saying that that's not a computer. In fact, you were very clear. This is a computer. It's a different form factor. It's a different operating system.
Right.
And most importantly, it's a different UI.
Right. And I think for 80% of the population, within the next 5 years, 80% of the population will not need anything more than an iPad. Maybe with obviously some advancements in how it operates, but they're not going to need anything more. 80 to 90%, and there's only going to be 10 or 20% left that really need a desktop, really need a laptop. I only use it because I do video.
Sometimes I think that the iPad is a natural progression in the word personal computer. It is, as they get more and more personal, more and more intimate, they are more and more beloved in some ways, right? And so I think Steve's describing it as a truck is a little bit off the point. It's not its utility that we're talking about. It's connectivity to us in the outside world. You know?
It's good that Apple is making consumer grade computers, and desktop computers aren't generally thought of as consumer electronics.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But again, we can't really get tunnel vision about this. Think about the idea of building your tasks for this month is to build the company report, and you have to write this 50-page document that incorporates spreadsheets, actuarial data, media from 5 different sources, from 10 different from 10 different field offices. That all has to be collaborated upon, collated, digested, spit out, designed, step. That is a sort of task that. Don't give me $1 million in an iPad and tell me that I can do this on an iPad or a device that's like that. I need big screen. I need keyboard. I need mouse. I don't even think that's generational. I think there will always be tasks that will be implicitly more necessary to use on a desktop or even a notebook. I'm a writer. I mean, really, my needs for computing hardware and for complexity of projects are really pretty slow. I do my research on a web browser. I put numbers into spreadsheets, but in the end, the product that I'm making and the thing that I'm working in is just text. In theory, I should be able to get by on an iPad just fine, but anytime I got to do any real, the only times I've ever done a production level work on my iPad, start to finish, are when I was doing that to make a point, or where going home to my computer was going to be inconvenient. And I thought, well, you know what? I got 90 minutes. Let's just knock off this 600-word piece.
All right.
If you're not winning over me, I'm not sure if you're going to win over anybody else.
I want to vote. I'm going to ask each of you. What is the issue? Is Steve distracted right now by where all the money is, or is Apple actively moving away from the truck?
I think Apple's moving away from the truck.
Frederick?
I'd agree. I think it's both. I mean, you're distracted because there's a big bag of money over there, and that's where the crowd and all the mind share is on the mobile devices, and that's where my mind is. But on that same note, Alex, I have to disagree with you. I don't want to give up the fit and finish of my Mac, and the attention to detail.
But I think Alex said, and I think he's right, that you still have an approved version that is polished and is Apple.
It's going to fragment. It would fragment.
Well, it will. It'll fork it.
But you'd have one version that is, there's companies that make it. Apple produces a spec, and people make it to that spec, and that one's approved. And the rest of them, people can go crazy because there's a lot of people that would love to go crazy, that leave Windows and Linux if they could have OS 10, but then be able to design their board and design their stuff and go down the path of having a higher risk. But when I think of like Final Cut users or visual effects producers or people who need trucks. I mean, people who are doing video, who are doing special effects.
What does Apple gain out of this? I mean, does Apple gain anything out of
Well, yeah. Well, I think they destroy the desktop market that's left.
They own it.
Well, the thing is that they would. I mean, if they would
disagree, Andy.
No, I mean, to answer your original question, I think that Apple has 3 children. They have the Macintosh that's 25 years old and it's on its own. It has Mac OS 10 that is 10 years old and pretty self-sufficient. And right now they're paying attention to the 2.5 to 3-year-old that's still barely learning how to walk and feed itself. I think that's why it's getting most of the attention and most of the engineering right now, because you have something that is, in anthropological terms, in family terms, can barely protect itself from rabid dogs. I do think that the reason why that they're ignoring, or seem to be ignoring macOS right now, is because it's stable. It has its own momentum behind it, and it's not a machine that they release a new version of the OS and all of a sudden it can't get people hold their keyboards wrong and they can't get access to the internet. That's the level that we're at still with iOS.
Yeah. It sounds like, Alex, it would be analogous to Steve Jobs having a party in his house and cording off one room for all the VIPs. You want my Steve Jobs experience, you come over into this room, but all you other people have at it.
Yeah, but it's the opposite though. It is him saying that we're going to work for what 80 to 90% of the population is really going to use. And the other part we're not gonna focus on. And I just don't think I think that many stories that we hear coming out of Apple is the one thing about Steve is that he has laser focus. That he decides where he's going to go next, and once he's given up on something, getting him to go back is unlikely. And so the thing is that I just don't think if the iPad and iPhone stumble, I could see them coming back to it. But if the iPad and the iPhone continue to expand, I think that they'll gut the engineering teams. I think they'll gut the marketing teams. I think that they'll just keep on moving down that path, because I think that is the open field. That's where they're going to have their biggest growth.
Here's the thing
you're forgetting that the macOS is Next OS. That's something that Steve brought with him personally from his previous startup.
I just don't think he cares.
I don't. Maybe if he doesn't care, he doesn't. He does have that laser focus. I've heard probably the same sort of stories that you have, but until he is actively interested in killing the desktop OS, I think the desktop OS is going to work just fine. If the company is not Steve, just because Steve does not, if we're guessing that he does not, that's not his most interested part of the company right now, just because that's not his focus right now. If that's true, that doesn't mean that it's just going to be gutted and people are going to start stealing office chairs from that part of the building.
I agree. I agree. I think the clear answer is yes, Apple is distracted. Apple has historically never had a problem cutting off dead limbs. This is one of the things that's been the strength of Apple, is they're very happy to do that, even though there's a lot of anguish when it happens.
Well,
I don't know if the OS 10 is a dead limb. I don't think it is yet. But I think Andy's got kind of the right idea, which is you let it go. It's still, sales are still up on Mac computers. You continue to make it. I don't think you see OS 11. I don't think you innovate on that platform anymore, Andy. I think you just let it go the way it is. I doubt Apple will ever open source it. I think that's not in their DNA.
If it's not called OS 11, it'll be called something brand new.
Do you think they will do a new version of the OS, a major revision?
I think it'll be brought so that your iOS devices and your desktop devices have a greater level of intimacy between each other, and the experience is a lot more seamless between you going from the desktop to going to the iPad or going to the iPhone. But I really don't think that. I don't think that the desktop OS is now on just flat level trajectory right now. It's still going to continue to move forward, if for no other reason, just to maintain it as a point of pride.
Well, and I think the problem. I think
point of pride is exactly what Apple does not do.
And if you look at what they did to iMovie, if you look at what they did to QuickTime, if they look at QuickTime,
they'll tear it apart. They'll gut it. I don't think they have any problem doing that. I think for one thing, we have to recognize Steve Jobs is not going to be there that much longer.
Well, and I think that the other thing is again, when you look at what Apple could do to the desktop market, could do to their competitors by making an open source version.
I don't think the desktop market matters anymore.
No,
I think it's over.
It doesn't matter, but there's still people making a lot of money with it.
Yeah, Apple for one.
Well, but I'm saying that you could they would get the last laugh on the desktop if they made it. I mean,
I don't even know where you go with an OS 11. I guess that was the question I was going to pose to you. Maybe we'll do that in a second.
I think it's stable.
I think it's stable and you stick there, but maybe there's something magical you could do. Maybe Andy would get Andy to elaborate a little bit more on this kind of intimate connection. I think Apple does that very well with iTunes. They've got the intimate connection going.
I mean, the only thing I would say is that right now you have something that, not now, but 3 to 5 years from now, when OS 10 represents less than 30% or 20% of your revenue, you have an opportunity to wipe that market clean and really push all the money towards the tablets and so on and so forth. Or you can let it slowly go off into the sunset. And from Apple, I think that there's a much bigger upside to a scorched earth policy than there is in going off into the sunset. So I think that's why they would do that, or one of the reasons that they would do it. And in fact, they don't want to put any engineering resources into it.
We'll talk more about this in just a bit. And there is a story that's, I think, kind of reprehensible. Apple's done this before. They've been killing the discussion threads about the Consumer Reports on their website, the discussion groups. But we'll talk about that in just a second. First, a word about Drobo, something Frederick knows a little bit about. Former Drobo employee, DROBO/MacBreak. We got some special deals, $75 to $500 off a brand new Drobo if it's populated with hard drives. I was reading a great review of hard drives by a photographer talking about all the different connections, all the different ways you can use a hard drive to back up, all the different. And then at the end he says, "Oh, by the way, I use a Drobo." And it kind of cut. It's like, okay, you're done. Drobo, the original Drobo with 4 bays and the capability of going up to, I think, 16 terabytes when we get 4 terabyte drives. We're actually out to 3 terabyte drives now. So you could actually put 12 terabytes in a Drobo original. The Drobo S has 5 bays, right? That's the difference. It's a little faster and a little bit more. I should explain what the Drobo is for people who don't know.
Frederick doesn't work there anymore. He can actually talk about these things.
I know he can. Do you have any inside information, Frederick, about the Drobo?
Yeah, there's a 900-day unit coming.
Warning.
No. Yeah, you're right. It's 5 bays. The Drobo S is 5 bays, and yeah, with those 3 terabytes, you can load that thing down.
That thing's massive.
I still haven't filled mine up with 2 terabytes.
Well, and here's the beauty. So it's on the face of it, it looks like a drive enclosure, and like the best designed drive enclosure you've ever seen. I mean, just gorgeous. These 4 lights in front. By the way, just little touches. Like this is a magnetic face that's easy to remove, so you can pop drives in and out. Couldn't be easier. No screws, nothing like that. These 4 lights tell you the status of the Drobo. Green means everything's going. There's room. Everything's fine. If it goes to yellow, it means this is the drive, the smallest drive. If you want to increase capacity, we're starting to get to the edge of the capacity envelope. You might want to pop this one out and put a new one in. And that's all you have to do, by the way. You got a 400 or 500 gigabyte drives in there. You want to add capacity? Put a terabyte drive in the smallest. And it rebuilds itself. You're never offline. It's amazing. Drobo S goes to 5, also has eSATA, FireWire 800, and USB 2.0. The Drobo FS, that's the newest one, gigabit Ethernet, and it's kind of like a NAS drive. It is a NAS drive, essentially. There's the Drobo Pro. Now, this is for serious storage consumers. 16 terabyte capacity. It's got 8 drives. I guess you'd have to say now 24 terabyte if you put those 3 terabytes. 24 terabytes! Yow! And the Drobo Pro has iSCSI, adds iSCSI to the connectivity. The Drobo Elite can be used as a SAN, 8 drives, dual gigabit Ethernet ports for iSCSI. Of course, the usual FireWire, USB, all of those choices. Perfect for VMware virtual servers. It's VMware certified. Perfect for a SAN. Up to 16 servers or workstations can connect. This is a product line. And I have to say, Frederick, since we started advertising for Drobo back when it was just the Drobo, they've really done a nice job.
Yeah, it's expanded out nicely.
Yeah.
It crosses the from the person just getting into understanding that my data can go away one day all the way up to the enterprise. So yeah, they've expanded it out a lot.
Highly recommend if you're looking for storage, if you're looking for backup, if you're looking for a solution that will expand to fit your needs, whether you're a photographer, a podcaster, or just somebody who has a lot of stuff. Drobo is the right solution. Here's what you do. Go to drobo.com/MacBreak. You can find out all about our special deals. The coupon code MacBreak Weekly, $75 to $500 off when you purchase selected Drobo models, plus hard drives. But you can also find out more about the Drobo. Callie Lewis, they're doing a nice little video on the Drobo. Give you some background on it. Drobo.com/MacBreak. We do thank them so much for their support. We've been Drobo fans for years and Drobo users for even longer.
I have a lot of Drobos.
I got the first Drobo when it first came out. I'm still using it. It's still in service.
I actually bought the first Drobo S ever.
I knew you were going to say that, Alex.
Ever.
I knew it.
He's proud of that fact.
The first one.
A little badge.
I got this email. I got this email.
I have the first Drobo.
I got this email from Mark going, "You bought the very first one. We're pretty sure you
That's
bought
somebody
the
who's
very
right
first
off the mark when you see a new. But you do that with everything. You're the guy who put in an order sight unseen at the Apple store. You told Travis in the San Francisco store, whatever it is, I want it.
I did.
What was that for? Was that the iPhone?
It was before Mac. It was before Macworld, and I was like, whatever they're announcing, just hold one.
I want it.
And he said, well, I'll see what I can do. And
Are you still that way?
What?
What?
With Apple?
It's okay. Carlita's not listening. What? Not me. No, I'm not that way. No.
I have to admit I'm a little bit more careful now. But with Apple stuff, I generally know that I'm going to want whatever they're dishing out for the most part. But with other stuff, I spend a lot of time hemming and hawing. I mean, it took me 2 years to buy a new SLR. I mean, Frederick was in the middle of that conversation, and then I bought. Now we have. Four of them.
But you were waiting on the 5Ds and the 7Ds.
I was waiting for something that does the 5Ds and 7Ds. So it wasn't so much that we were waiting on them. We didn't know that they were going to be there, and then it was trying to wait for them to go 24p. And
I just got this new camera. I'm really kind of interested in this. Have you played with this, Frederick? The Panasonic GH1?
No, I have not.
And the thing that's interesting
about... up there to borrow that from you.
Yeah, well, I did that. There's a firmware hack. Tester 13 puts out I read about this on Michael Reichman's Luminous Landscape photo blog, and I know Scott Bourne has reviewed it. Others have reviewed it. The idea behind it is that you can turn on feature. The firmware hack isn't like hacked firmware exactly, but you turn on features that are in the firmware that Panasonic doesn't turn on to begin with. But you know what? I like this camera. I know it's a Micro Four Thirds, so it's a small sensor, and that's not as nifty as my 5D full sensor. But there's just some like usability features that I really like.
I see a stereo mic on there.
Look at that, and you have a mini jack so that you can put. I brought my my dead kitten. I should zoom back. I'm a little tight. On this. My dead kitten.
Tribble.
It does look like a Tribble, doesn't it? This is the who makes this?
I don't know who makes that.
Rode makes this. It's a stereo.
And it comes with a dead cat.
Comes with a dead cat, and it has a mini jack, so this will work with this. But that's the one negative on this thing. You don't have any audio monitoring built into it. That's like one negative. But apparently, if you do this firmware hack, and you know what, I have to get better flash. I have to order the Class 10 flash. It's coming tomorrow. You can record 50 megabit MJPEG on this thing.
Right.
422.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so I'm going to play with that. 720p.
Here's the real question that I have: is that it has HDMI out? Yes.
Yeah.
Here's what we have to do is
we have to try, because these could be our studio cameras.
Well, there's two questions.
No limit. They don't overheat like the 5 and 7Ds.
Well, they don't turn off anyway.
Yeah, they might overheat, but they don't turn off.
Because the 5D turns off exact 30 seconds. Now, here's the other question.
This is designed. I think this is designed as a video camera more than a still camera. I really think that's what they were looking at when they made this.
It was maybe to make cameras feel comfortable.
Look at this. As you're shooting stills, at any point, in the 5D, you have to go into this whole mode. You just press this button, it starts recording video. That's it. Nice. In fact, it's kind of a problem because I was holding it like this for a while, and I said, why am I keep shooting video? And then I realized, I'm turning on the video. But It really does make it easy. It also has silent zoom and focusing. It will auto aperture while you're shooting, auto iris. So it has a lot of features that you look for in a camcorder.
Because I'd be really interested to see if it's an uncompressed HDMI signal coming out, number one, and number two is if it turns off all the interfaces. Because right now with the 5D and the 7D, you still get an interface. You at least get a focus box.
I give this to you to play with.
Okay, I will play with this.
I want to know.
Hey, can I take it? Can I take it? Can I take it down to the office tomorrow?
No.
Oh, I put it up against.
Play
charts.
with it for a minute.
I was going to do charts and hook it to machines.
You can, but not for okay.
Leave it lying around.
I give him puppy dog eyes.
I kind of bought it as a second unit camera because we bought a Cine Alta EX1, so we have now a good first unit camera. And I thought sometimes when we're out in the field shooting, it'd be nice to have. And I know Alex said don't do that because they won't match. It's different manufacturers, so but I don't. You know what? Who cares? I don't care. They don't have to.
It just needs to be properly. It just needs to be properly tested. That's all. We need to put it up against charts. See how I work my way into my evil ways here. We need to put it up against charts. We need to test the compression rate.
Okay,
we need
go ahead. Thank you. But you know what? I'm not giving you the charger, so you got one battery charge worth of playtime.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it off.
That way I get it back.
I'm gonna turn it off. Keep it off. There we go. Yeah, exactly.
I would like to play with it a little more. All right. Well, how long will you have it? Just a day?
Just one day. I'll just bring it back. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back Thursday morning.
Don't do it, Leo. Don't do it.
And I'll tell you all the new things. And we're gonna be streaming live all day tomorrow from Pixelcore. So
you can maybe stream it.
So people will see us streaming it and testing it.
All right, but I got to give you the plug because you really will need more power. I think it's fully charged, but I think you'll need more power.
We'll be streaming, so you'll get to see us doing it. So you'll know that I'm actually not out, I don't know, shooting a movie with it or anything. You'll know that I'm testing it. You'll see the testing in action.
Give him, like, going deep into the closet, give him like a 256 megabyte memory card and then like glue the door shut. That'll make sure you get it back.
No, he's not going to record.
3/4 of a second of video we did shoot.
I don't
very
need,
impressive.
I don't need no stinking video.
Stream is what he's going to do.
We're going to get the. I just want to get the. I want to see what the HDMI looks like on the way out.
I just, I shouldn't have bought it, but because I have a 5D, and I never use the video on the 5D, but I just thought this might be really kind of a nice. It's so much smaller. That is a 14 to 140 lens, which is effectively 28 to 280.
That's crazy.
So that's
I'm amazed they're making micro four thirds cameras that are now the size of SLRs, though.
It's a little big. It's bigger than the EP1.
The one thing I will be.
Oh, by the way, it uses the EP1 lenses.
Wow.
Because the mount is the same.
It's a vendor on specific formats. So
right.
Any micro four thirds will run.
I kind of like that. So I have a 17 pancake I can use from my EP1. It's silver though, and it's a black body. So
I will be interested to see how long, because I know that with the 5D, after 30 minutes, the chip. I mean, it automatically. It doesn't.
That's
it just
a
turns
European
right
restriction. I turned that off in the firmware. There is a legal requirement in Europe that if you record more than 30 minutes, you have to tax it. It's a camcorder, and you have to tax it as a camcorder, which is a higher rate. So the firmware, the Tester 13 firmware changer, turns that off in that camera.
That's the rumor about the 5D, which is why all those limitations occur on the 5D and the 7D is actually
the 5D
to
after
avoid
12 minutes.
Well, it's 4 gigs. They just set it to 4 gigs.
Okay,
so
I think
12.
It's
I
11.
think
The issue was overheating though too. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is the GH1 Panasonic Lumix GH1. It's about $1,200. Yeah, with the lens, it's $1,200. Nice. I don't know. I'm just thinking it's a. I don't know. It's pretty. I have no excuse.
It's pretty.
So why did Apple? What's wrong with Apple? They've done this before. If you mention Consumer Reports in the Apple discussion groups, the official support forums, you will get deleted. Not once, not twice. According to the unofficial Apple weblog, 6 times. Bing has cached it. Isn't that ironic?
Hey, can we cause a little trouble?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody watching. Okay, ready? Everybody watching this show, go to the Apple forums and just make comments about Consumer Reports.
Oh yeah, just say, hey, did you see
it right
the Consumer
now.
Reports? Wait a minute. This is what you get, by the way. Is there's nobody talking about. What are you talking? Consumer Reports? What are you saying? So maybe this is just overzealous mods.
I think it's generally a mistake to do that kind of stuff.
It's a big mistake, and I know a lot of.
And we're hopefully going to point that out right now, because your job right now, if you're watching, is to go make comments.
This is a good experiment, but it's also a demonstration of how having community is a big responsibility for larger corporations. You can't be all good all the time. You have to take the good with the bad.
When I talk to companies about opening up, I do raise this issue. I say, you're going to get negative comments. How are you going to handle it? How are you going to feel about that?
Right.
It does put them in. Having that forum does put Apple in sort of a bad position, because it's necessarily. It seems to be completely set up not as just a community forum just for people who like Apple products to talk about how much they like them or how much they dislike them. It's a form of user support for people who are having problems. And if they're going to say that we're going to have an open forum, and then that would mean that they would have to allow all kinds of discussion, even on the Consumer Reports things. But when they're talking about a support forum and they find a thread that is really negative to Apple, doesn't really help people find solutions. They just help people to complain about how bad this article is. And in the absence of Apple's ability to use that forum to say anything official, because this is a user forum, it's not a company forum, it almost seems as though they have a very, very limited list of options to choose from, and they chose look, it's not helping people. It doesn't have how-to tips on how to fix this, so we're just going on that basis.
I am going to amend this story. Despite what TUAW said, there are now a number of threads started today, like this one. Consumer Reports confirms existence of hardware-related antenna problem, which have not been taken down, which have a lot of discussion around it. So maybe it was early on overzealous mods. Maybe the word came down from Apple on high. Leave it, because this thread, while you get, and I think this is always be the case on Apple discussion forums. You get Apple fanboys who say, "Oh well, it doesn't mean anything." But I think you also get some negative stuff too, and I think that maybe this is. Maybe this is an amended policy on Apple's part. So I'm going to amend our story to say that at least for now, these discussions stay there. They did delete them early on, but so far they're on.
That's the frustrating thing about trying to talk about anything with Apple, because their secrecy is so tight that you're just really welcome to speculate on any of the 30 reasons why they might have killed that thread, and you will never know what the real reason was. And it could be something as simple as Lenny, who's not the top moderator they've got working there, decided to kill it.
Right.
Then 3 hours later, the real guy came back in with the Windows takeout saying, I go out for a Starbucks and this is what you do.
You're killing me, Lenny. You're killing me. I'm trying to work here. Get out of here.
Our Lenny.
It's a new show. Yes, that crazy Lenny, Apple Discussion Forum moderator. What'll he be up to next?
Oh,
Andy,
no.
that
I
face you just made
accidentally
is gonna be
opened
my
this can
picture
of two-pot adhesive, and now the CEO is stuck to the chair.
Oh, that's our Lenny.
And I think it is hard. I mean, you have to. There's a lot of business issues that are related to it. I always think it's a mistake to, you have to be extremely careful about deleting things unless they've gone outside of certain rules that you've really set up ahead of time.
You could reasonably say there will be no negative discussion of Apple products on this forum, and then you'd have a standard, and I might not be where you'd want to hang out anymore.
But you didn't say that ahead of time.
Right.
That's the issue, is just setting up those expectations. But I will say, I'm going to go back to. I think that that's a mistake. I also think, though, if you have an iPhone that you're not happy with because of the antenna, just take it back. Stop complaining about it. Or get a bumper or whatever. Just let it go. It's just not that big of a deal. Sorry, I just wanted to say. I'm so tired of listening. I just
hold it differently for crying out loud.
No, it's not hold it differently. Just take if it's really a problem for you, take it back. And if you're not going to take it back, you're not going to take it back. Most people, 99.99999%, are not going to take the iPhone 4 back because it's the best phone they ever owned. And it drops a couple calls, and some of us see that as a feature.
I think you should take it to the Apple Friend Bar, and maybe they'll have a nice conversation with you.
Success of their Genius bars today, Apple stores across the country unveiled the Friend Bar, where obsessive Apple users can come to discuss Mac products at length. Onion News Network Tech Trends reporter Jeff Tate has more.
Thanks, Andrea. Apple users looking for someone to talk at about the newest Twitter iPhone app or why Safari is an infinitely better browser than Firefox can now simply make an appointment at Apple's new Friend Bar. Free to anyone with an Apple Care warranty, the Friend Bar is staffed by Apple employees specially trained to carry on lengthy conversations about even the most arcane Apple-related topics.
Unlike your girlfriend or your coworkers, we're not going to get tired of discussing the wireless networking capabilities of the Snow Leopard operating system. We're here and we're ready to listen.
The Friend Bar is already a success, with some Apple fans scheduling appointments up to 4 hours in length.
It drives me so nuts that Firefox is disabling the plugin for Mate ORC3.
Yeah. Genius bars across the country are reporting shorter wait times as customers who just want to impress Apple employees with their ironic desktop image or their impeccably organized iTunes library are redirected to the Friend Bar. And the discussions don't have to be limited to Apple products. Friend Bar employees are trained to discuss a range of topics Apple customers are interested in, from finding a good Neapolitan pizza to talking to girls you aren't already in an improv troupe with.
I think what our customers appreciate is the fact they've got a multinational consumer electronic corporation that they can relate to.
The Friend Bar is not the only good news for Apple fans. The 24-hour Friend Line connects users to call centers overseas where they can talk about Apple even after store hours.
That's just using GarageBand, and I like to use iMovie if I'm just making a slideshow or something. Yes. I'll use Final Cut Express. Like yesterday, I uploaded some footage of these kids skateboarding. That is very interesting.
The company also announced that next year it will roll out the iStore, a miniature version of an Apple Store which customers can set up in their own homes.
It's going to be about $6,000 for the hardware. Then there's a monthly salary for your personal Apple employee. Then, of course, anything you buy from the store.
For Tech Trends, I'm Jeff Tate.
I think you need that. I think you need that in your house.
I'm there.
By the way, that's courtesy. We didn't ask, but that's courtesy of the Onion News Network, and they do such a good job.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that really, I think that there are people who probably thought that was real. I mean, it looked like an Apple Store in every respect. It was perfect.
I'd bet money that there are T-shirts like that are now available for sale by someone somewhere.
Yeah, your Apple Friend store.
Well, here's the worst part. I think it'd actually be pretty successful.
It would absolutely. That's basically what this show is. It's us talking obsessively
do
about
each other's
Apple.
hair, talk about boys. It would be wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we need. And, you know, I think that was the original idea of that 888 FaceTime number. Really? I'm sure that that's where this came from. Remember?
Hi.
Hi.
I see you. I see you.
I want to FaceTime. You know, my daughter is going to college, and she's debating whether to get an iPhone. She has this whole very odd thing. She said, well, whatever phone I carry, and this may be telling about this generation, will be a statement about me and my means and my class. And I want to know, are we upper middle class or not? Because if I'm going to carry the iPhone, I'm going to need to spend at that level. If not, I'd like to carry just a dumb feature phone because I don't want to set up any expectations about who I am. And I said, well, honey, you know, we could FaceTime while you're at college. She said, I'm getting a dumb phone.
She was done.
That settles it.
And now the
She's getting a razor.
generation's failure is complete.
She said, this school is very hip. It's full of hipsters. And I just want to know, you know, it conveys a lot about, and it's true, about what phone. She says, when I was at Revision 3, everybody had an iPhone. And I don't know, is that me? So she's trying to find herself.
Back when we were kids, we'd have to do that with bands.
It's exactly the same. Don't you think? Oh. Don't you think? And if like you're the indie hipster, you say, "Well, no, I use Ubuntu." Oh, yeah. And if you're like kind of square, you say, "Yeah, well, I think Windows XP is really the solution for me." Don't you think?
Well,
I use the Mac.
It's a universal experience. I mean, when I shop for my first like new pair of eyeglass frames in like 10 or 15 years, I think the number one criterion is what style is like not available in every single lens crafters, right. And that really limited me to about 8 different styles.
How long has it been with those lenses frames?
These are the quote new ones. These are the quote new ones that I got like about 3 years ago. And the search was only ended when I realized that the frames that I really, really like are my sunglass frames. And then I spent like 3 more weeks trying to find eyeglass frames just like that before I realized that, remember, Andy, you're a dumbass. You can actually get the sunglass frames at the same store you got them from and have them put clear lenses in them. Oh, that's right.
How clever.
So, which means I'm just part of that whole like that whole I want different eyeglass frames marketing trend that Lens Crafters is probably going to be.
It's the next.
They'll get you.
Big thing. You want to see some bad eyeglass frames? I'm going to go back to the eyeglasses that I was wearing in 1992. I think this was. And I think this is definitely where you don't want to go, Andy. Just a word of warning. That is probably not... Those are not the eyeglasses you're looking for.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so I am also wearing suspenders, so I'm obviously a complete... This is me after the makeover.
I heard...
After.
I read an article by like an official White House photographer, and he was saying that one of the tips he always gives like people who are getting their picture taken with the president is to take off their glasses because it's the one thing that will absolutely date you or date the photo.
And with those glasses, nobody dated me.
I have a
hey.
Look at that.
I have to say that I have a picture of me with Sting in like 1991. With little wireframe round glasses, and the only thing I look at is like, oh, it's such a great photo, and I can't believe I was wearing glasses.
Well, and the cell phone will do the same thing. If you hold a cell phone, and that's why old movies, they got a word of advice to movie directors: do not put a cell phone in the shot because it's like having a wide tie. Immediately.
I was watching X-Files last night in series 1, and they pick up the cell phone, and it's like this huge box.
Isn't that funny? It's like, because in every other respect, it would look completely normal. You wouldn't be able to place it.
Right.
Maybe the hairstyle, sometimes the clothes, but the cell phone, boom, instantly. And it's only a few years.
Yeah.
I got to recommend that if the original Taking of Pelham 123 is kind of in regular rotation on cable now, and it is the most perfect example. If you want to see what the world was like in 1973, 1974, the whole thing was shot on location, especially when they're in the big, massive command center that runs the entire like subway system in New York City. And some of them they're mostly using like the Buddy Holly model microphones to talk to each other, but 2 different locations, and this is an actual location they're using. Actually has a candlestick phone on like one of those scissors sort of.
You're kidding!
Wow.
And it's not like at the governor's mansion or anything like that. But you're like, wow! It's a carbon microphone. It kept working, so they just never thought to replace it. And my God,
See,
they
those
complain
things
about
should
having
come
a
back,
dial. How
though.
about
I mean, you know, when everyone, it's like The Incredibles. Remember that line in The Incredibles when they said when the villain says, "When everyone is super, no one is." So now, when everyone has a smartphone, you know, why not be trendy and go with a dumb phone?
I will.
Well, that's what my
open source
daughter's
this
doing.
idea.
That's exactly what my daughter's up to.
Yep.
I had this idea a few days ago when I was going through stuff in my technology I had in my storage locker, and I will open source this idea. And anybody who wants to use it, use it. That I bought like an old bag phone like for $3 at the MIT flea market, and I was looking at the handset and realizing that the keypad and like the vacuum LED number display, that's about the size of an iPhone. I bet that I could like take apart this handset, hollow out like the grip of it, and basically turn the grip of it into like an iPhone dock, run USB signals like through the curly cable so it plugs into the car lighter. And so anytime I want to like use my iPhone inside the car, I will just be a big shot in the car, like with a big old-fashioned headphone with a curly thing in the back, and people will think he's a Back to the Future guy. He's in 1988, even though I've got my iPhone 4 in there.
Here's Walter Matthau taking a Pelham 123. Look at that microphone he's talking into.
Light bulbs, everybody. Light bulbs would come on in that big board to show where the train was within 50 yards.
And look, he's got a rotary dial phone. Louis C.K. would love this film. That is
it is
great
a
movie.
testimony to lumpy middle-aged white guys. It's like everybody.
Walter Matthau is the quintessential.
Jerry Stiller was in it, like Vincent Gardenia was in it. All these middle-aged, lumpy white guy character actors from the 70s are represented in this movie. It was. I've now made a note that I have to actually record this because I just enjoyed it so much.
I think that I really think that the solution, the iPhone solution for college, is to get an old phone and then put the iPhone 4 into.
Oh, that's
that
a good
phone.
idea. That's kind of what Woz did, right? He put it in a black.
Then she could be super hip.
So I've got the new look
hip,
here.
but not hip.
For this is how we're going to look now from now on Twit. We're going to speak into these old microphones, and I have the metal headphones. What do you think?
You look like Radar.
I don't know. See, Leo, I mean, you're one of these tech hipsters. What's wrong with a megaphone like in the 1920s?
Hello, America, and all the ships at sea. Let's go to press. This is a great mic. This is actually a I could use this microphone.
Pining for you. See? Megaphones. It amplifies. It distributes. Why make a big show of it? Hipsters. Damn hipsters.
Damn
Worse than
hipsters.
hippies.
Damn them. All right, we're going to take a break. I can't hear a thing. Oh, I know why, because I'm wearing those. Okay. Back to
you have to turn the crank and ask for Sparky, or else
back
you
to
won't
the
get anything.
90s. But we're going to come back with your picks of the week in just a little bit, and there's some good ones I know. Is there anything, before I do that, is there anything in the news that I've missed? I'm sure there is. Big stories that I like to do this because, you know, the other day on a twit, we missed like the biggest story of the week, and I felt so guilty afterwards. So I'm going to put you on the spot, gentlemen, or a chat room. Anything in the chat room that they're still going off on the taking of Pelham 123. And of course, they love this, and we might mention this. The Old Spice guys apparently made a get well video for Kevin Rose. Is that possible? Anything in the news that we missed? I see you going through your iPhone 4.
What? Yeah, I was looking for.
No, I can't think of anything.
I didn't know Kevin Rose was sick.
He's been sick for a couple weeks.
Really?
Haven't you been following his Twitter?
No. What has he got?
The flu.
And he gets the Old Spice guy to make a video for him?
That's what I call a viral video.
Now let's bring out your headliner. You've been great.
All right, here we go.
How are you? Feeling better, I hope. I personally have never had a fever because my body is 98% muscle, and muscles can't get sick. The 1% of my body that isn't muscle is my ears. They're made of cartilage. But I did some research, and it doesn't look like you can get a fever in your ears, which I think we both can agree is a glorious thing. That being said, although I'm clearly winning in the physical department, you seem to have the edge intellectually because you are a genius at the internet. Can you imagine if your smart brain could team up with my strong muscle body and wildly handsome face parts? No, you can't. I can't. No one can. Because if anyone tried to imagine that, their brain would explode, and that's just not healthy. Thanks again, Kevin. Or in your genius smart computer language. 100101101001000.
I think that's a form of fame, isn't it? If you get the Old Spice guy with a Get Well card.
Man, when they think about a whole business where you could just do cards, the Old Spice cards.
I mean, they brought him in. They put him in the shower. They took off his shirt.
I can
imagine
imagine
cost millions.
If they're smart, they would have done that to a lot of different, like the Ellen DeGeneres one, that one, a whole bunch of them
obviously
all at the
they
same
did.
time.
Obviously they did, and this is smart viral marketing. Whedon and Kennedy, one of the smartest agencies out there up in Portland. They know what they're doing.
We would like to say that Leo doesn't have an Old Spice one yet.
That's okay. I don't want one. I'd be creeped out, frankly, if a naked guy in a shower said, "Leo, I'm gorgeous, and you're sick."
I want Leo.
Leo, I'm writing plans right now to create a video for you.
I think you could do it. Take off your shirt.
It.
Take off your shirt, Frederick. I think you've got the muscle to do it.
I am not taking off my shirt. Sorry.
I'm just going to Sharpie.
It's a different show entirely, my friend.
It is a different show entirely. Let's take a break. We're going to come back with your picks of the week, and this portion of the show brought to you by our good friends at audible.com. It's going to be my pick, but I'm going to actually have another pick. I'll do it right now. I am so happy Audible has released the iPhone app, audible.com/MacBreak. Now, there is absolutely no reason for you iPhone users not to run out and join Audible. Audible.com/MacBreak. Your first one is free. Actually, if you can download the phone app is free, and you can download it, and it comes with excerpts. So if you're very interested, you could take a look at it. There, Andy's got it on there. You know what I like? This was the same thing I liked about the Android version of it. It has your whole library on it. So you download your whole library, and you can. This is the wireless syncing we've wanted all these years. For our iTunes is now available for Audible. So every one of my books, it's well over 400 books. I just love this.
It's nicely organized too. What I was surprised at what it can also do is it can actually also find Audible content that's already in your iTunes library on your device.
Yeah, you could turn that on and off.
So if you're already syncing books via iTunes, it's not so you have to have two different copies of this library.
Right.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen an audio app actually do that.
It's I think that they weren't sure that they'd get approved, to be honest, because they did not tell us anything about this ahead of time. I've been singing the praises of the Android one, which is still in beta. And all this time, and I'm sure that they've thought, we should tell them about the iPhone version. But I think they might have thought, we're not sure if this is going to get approved.
Well, I think I'd have to look through my inbox to be sure. But I think I actually got an email from
did you?
Audible. I got one of those, one out of every 5, 6, or 7 different app announcements. It's a big, long, formal press release followed by, actually, there have been a few little hang-ups, but we do expect to be approved by the time you get this. Sorry if you look for our app and didn't find it, but it is available now and downloadable.
And free.
Got it yesterday.
And awesome. And it, as you said, it plays audiobooks that you've synced via iTunes, but you can, for the first time, in my knowledge, download audiobooks or some kind of audio content via Wi-Fi. It does have to be Wi-Fi for most of these books because it's over 20 megabytes.
Right. If you anything you've actually already paid for,
it's in the library.
You'll probably be able to see that. But if you've already paid for, but you haven't downloaded it yet, see that little gray box? That's actually a download button.
Right.
So if you actually, if I decide that, you know what, I really want to have Born Standing Up, just tap it and blang, it'll just download immediately.
It's so cool. I have to say.
It really is a good peek at how cool this could be if we had that sort of access to iTunes content where you don't have to necessarily sync everything. But if you're out of the house and you realize that, man, I really wish I'd sunk that really great album that I downloaded just 2 weeks ago. Hey, notice you bought it. Go ahead.
Well, and that's what I was really excited about with the Android app is that I no longer had to remember to get something. Now, people complain you can't buy within the app, but you have Safari on here. You can absolutely, in fact, I tried it yesterday, go to the browser, buy an application. You don't have to download it in Safari. You just add it to your, say I bought it, and then refresh, and it will download all of your books. It'll update your library, and now you'll be able to download that library from within the app. So it is absolutely the case that you can buy and then download directly on the iPhone. See, I'm downloading the Contortionist's Handbook right now, which is a very wild book, but I'm really enjoying it.
Have you finished it yet?
Not yet. Does it have a funny ending?
It's
happy-go-lucky?
It's a happy-go-lucky reaffirmation of life. It's very much like Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman meets Highway to Heaven, just that sort of uplift.
It's a really good book, I have to say. And I'm also listening to The Count of Monte Cristo. One of my favorite all-time books. I'm a big William Gaddis fan. JR is now out, and I've been listening to that. That's 37 hours on JR, 50 hours on Count of Monte Cristo. So just those two books alone, I got 87 hours. And by the way, you download. Have you figured out, Andy, on the app what the quality is? It doesn't give you a chance to choose the quality, so I'm not sure what kind of quality I'm getting on that.
I haven't had a chance to really test it out yet.
It sounds fine.
I did download something. It does sound fine, but I haven't done a comparison between what it sounds like on my MacBook versus what it sounds like. The version I downloaded on my MacBooks versus the version that's on there. I also don't know, for instance, what happens. It's brand new. I've only had it for like a day now. I also don't know what happens if you download a book from your Audible library on the iPhone and then dock it to iTunes. Does iTunes see that as new content and then we'll sync it back into your library or whatever?
You know, I just basically turned off book syncing on iTunes now. I don't want it anymore because I'm getting them all just directly into the phone from the app. I have to say, this was one reason I was going to switch back to Android. I'm so glad they came out with this. It makes the iPhone 4 that much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain specific features that you want to have in an audiobook listening app, as opposed to just a general a player that's designed to let you listen to a 2-minute song or a whole album that's set up into tracks.
Right.
It's much better. It's a much richer experience.
Oh, it's fantastic. Great video. They have a very nice feature where a user interface feature where you actually can press this button and then it supports gestures. Tap it once to pause it. You can go left to go back 30 seconds. Swipe right to go forward 30 seconds. And you can bookmark it by swiping up. This is the best way to listen to audiobooks ever. I am... What? Sorry. It's great. I love
amazing.
It. Oh, yeah, this is it. It has everything you'd want, and including iPhone 4 multitasking in the background, so you can be listening to the book, exit out of the application, start playing Scrabble.
You know, they should. Someone at Skype should call them to find out how to do background.
Yeah, they still haven't figured that out, have they?
Well, they only showed it at the. Not that I'm bitter. I'm in a bitter mood today.
We're bitter. Anyway, if I got to stop the. Hold on. I don't want to miss a piece of this Count of Monte Cristo. Okay, stop there. Audible.com/MacBreak. Here's how you get your first book, and then you can listen to it on the iPhone. Although there are some excerpts from some of my favorite books are on the app for free, so you can at least get a taste of it without even joining Audible. But get a free book. You'll sign up for the Gold account and get credit towards a free book. Lots of great choices. Andy always has something good to listen to. What are you recommending today?
Today, I'm a bit of a departure. I am recommending a book that I haven't listened to yet. Usually, either I've already bought it, I'm like halfway through it, or I like it, but I got the book itself and like read the first 3 or 4 chapters just to make sure that it sort of lives up to the hype. But there's a few authors and a few, especially in audiobooks, where if the name appears in the list of new releases, it's just going to get downloaded. I'm adding it to the wish list if I don't have enough credits, but at some point I'm going to download it. And on that list is Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, I love him.
He's great. Yeah. It's kind of denigrating him to refer to him as a TV chef because he's not one of those guys who like builds a Harley Davidson themed wedding cake and then has to drive it 400 miles to win a prize. He travels and talks about cooking and restaurants and international food. He first became famous with a really wonderful book called Kitchen Confidential about 10 years ago that talked about his career as a chef and what it is really like to be a chef and to be one of these people who works in the food industry but also enjoys food from that end. And so he has a new book out called Medium Raw, A Bloody Valentine to the world of food and the people who cook, which is sort of a sequel to that book. It's about here's what's happened in the past 10 years, not only to me as going from a former drug addicted chef on Cape Cod and other restaurants to the best restaurants in the world, to someone who spends most of his time talking and writing and broadcasting about food, but also talking about what has happened to restaurants, especially what has happened now that watching people eat and watching people cook has been such a big entertainment activity. But it could be, if Anthony Bourdain wanted to write a 300-page book about what it was like trying to get his HD TV hooked up in his living room, he would make it interesting and profane and wonderful. So I will be shocked. I have not listened to this yet. I just noticed someone on Twitter just a couple days ago pointed out to me that he had this new book out on audio, and I'm like,
well, it just came out.
Downloaded.
Yeah.
Done.
Came out. I'm not sure if 6 days ago. So
6 days ago, right?
I just heard an interview. I think he was on Fresh Air or something like that. I just heard this interview, and he's just so much fun to listen to.
Let me just play a little bit of this. You'll hear his voice.
This is a wild boar pate en croûte, the narrow area between forcemeat and crust, filled with clear, amber-tinted aspic.
Yeah,
Waiters are pouring wine.
Go
We help
slower.
ourselves. One by one, we take our seats.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't play them any more of this because I'm getting hungry. Anthony Bourdain, medium raw, bloody Valentine to the world of food and the people who cook. But that's just one. We do recommendations every show on the Twit Network. We recommend books. So if you go back, it's on our wiki. Every book we've ever recommended. There is a page of Leo Laporte, 20 Leo Laporte recommendations. They're just the thing about Audible. Get the first book. Just get it. Listen to it, and you can enjoy it for the rest of your life.
It's free.
It's free. I'm a big fan. Audible.com/MacBreak. Now time for our software or hardware picks. We do this every week, starting with Alex Lindsay to my left.
Take a picture.
Oh! You're going to recommend the iPhone?
Yeah, I'm gonna recommend the iPhone. No,
okay. He's taking a picture of me with his iPhone 4.
Watch this. I'm gonna take a picture. There we go. There's Leo. Now stay still. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
You're not going to make me fat, are you?
No. I'm going to move the camera over here,
You're
and then I'm going to
stereo?
move it, and then I'm going
I know what you're doing.
What the hell is he doing?
And then
okay, I didn't move.
He didn't move, and then it's going to do this thing, and then I go like this, and then
okay, you have to hand it to me so that I can show people how.
So this is what I just shot.
What did you do? Well, so it's what?
It's a 3D.
It's messed up. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
It's anaglyph. Whoop, you got to go down.
So I need glasses, right?
You do need glasses, but I keep them on my desk now. I'm surprised I don't have any with me, but you need glasses. But that's an anaglyph. But you can process it any way you want. But the idea that you can also do. Watch this. Look at this. Here, let me see it.
Okay.
There's this little vibe. Hold on.
You're so funny.
There we go. Let me go.
Okay, give it back. Oh, now that's kind of cool because I don't happen to have red-green glasses.
So if you can't see it, you can kind of see the 3D effect of it. Now what's interesting is what you can do. This is called 3D camera.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that.
But this is called 3D.
I feel funny looking at that. Stop it.
It's making me. I think if I'm. You know what? We might have some epileptic viewers, and I do apologize if you're epileptic and you've just been sent into a seizure.
It's a fun little application.
Sorry.
It's a fun little
like
application.
The AHA video.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you have? You have to have those red green glasses,
or you can do
glasses. Well, I don't think that's so cool.
So the red green glasses are, you can do. I have a lot of them because I've been doing.
You do?
Yeah, I actually have like a dozen of them.
Really?
Yeah, because you never know when someone's going to go over to your house and want to watch 3D. And I have a 3D camera. You got to get. I have that Fuji 3D camera, and so I take pictures of 3D all the time. Okay. And the idea that the iPhone. The app is called 3D camera. I said that 3D camera.
It's so generic that we didn't know.
Camera, and it's not. By the way, this is an unpick. It is not. And I'm sorry if you're the developer, but it's not Twin Shot 3D, which is not as good as 3D camera. So, because you'll get confused when you do a search for 3D camera thing on the iPhone. But what you do is you take one photo and then you can move it over. And here's what you get to do: is you decide what you want in the center of the frame, and you can turn it. And what you're basically doing is setting up your convergence manually. So you're setting up your interaxial distance and your convergence on your own with your iPhone. And you take these little photos, and they're fun. They're a fun way to do 3D without spending $600 on a Fuji 3D W1. And which is what I have, but it's
has two lenses.
That has actually two lenses. It's a little easier, I have to admit, especially when people are moving.
And what is Andy showing us?
Ooh. Yeah, it's also available for the iPad. So you don't necessarily have to shoot your pictures actually on the iPhone in order to make it happen. It's actually a little bit easier to use, I find, on the iPad version because my trickiness when I got the iPhone version was actually getting the photos to line up properly. I think what they need to have some more tutorials, especially on their website, to really show you how to make this sort of work. Yeah. Also, part of it is just the trick of. Or I could get the actual iPhone. Part of it is just making sure that you keep the camera sort of steady and that you really just slide it horizontally so that you're getting this eye and then this eye as opposed to like this and like this. So it's a little bit tricky, but for an inexpensive little application that does some really cool stuff, especially, the thing is that you email your friends these pictures and then you say, well, actually, I do have some extra glasses here. I mean, just give me $5 to mail them to you because I just need the posters and stuff. And of course, it costs you like $1 to mail. So, ka-ching.
Andy, you got a pick for us?
I got a pick for you, yes. There is. I'm still sort of in the process of finding really good iPad stands. I don't think I've found like the one ring to bind us and unite us. That it's one device, it's a case, an easel, and a stand all in one. And so my favorite thing so far, assuming that you don't want to have my 2 little rubber stoppers you carry wherever you go, and that picture frame plate stand you get at the craft store works great, but it's not really designed for abuse. Okay, so over time, like the hinge sort of loosens up, so then you have to throw that out and buy another one. So my favorite thing right now is by Griffin Technology. It's called the A-frame. It's a double tasker where this is what you got right here. Wow, exactly. It's made out of like machined aluminum like this, and
like
so
medical
when you
equipment.
Exactly, is it safe? So when it's like this, it becomes a typing easel because it's got the slot right here to hold it, and it actually holds it up at a very nice angle. I think it also holds it up at almost exactly the same angle as my rubber stoppers, maybe just a little bit shallower, but it's still very easy to like sit in front of it like this and get some real typing done. But when you want to watch a movie or you want to read a book while you're enjoying your favorite burrito, you just kick this stand out and it turns into this. It is very solid. Despite being very solid, it's also very lightweight. It feels as though this thing is not going anywhere so long as you're not holding it in midair in front of a camera and trying not to drop your own personal iPad 3G. Please excuse me if I'm sounding very nervous right now. But it's rubberized at the bottoms too, so you're not going to scratch either the iPad or the device itself. And something that I like, if you are the sort of person who really does like to have some sort of protection on the back, I still have my newer technology clear case with some Japanese paper in the back of it. It is actually this little lip is just thick enough that you can still keep that plastic shell or that rubberized shell in there, and it will still hold it completely securely. So the good news is that it's a nice thing to travel with, especially if you do a lot of riding. The bad news is it's a slightly pricey item. It's $49. But if you're looking for something that can replace having like a box full of different solutions depending on where you're going and what you intend to be doing with your iPad, and you want something solid that you feel as though you can actually trust, this might be, as a one-time purchase, a perfectly nice thing to have. Again, I'm sort of embarrassed that I've had for the past 3 months a whole bag full of stopgap solutions because I can't find the one thing that really does it for me. But this is very close.
It looks nice, I have to say. I mean, it's
again, it doesn't look like a piece of junk, and that's why I'm not necessarily opposed to a $50 or $100 thing, so long as when I get it, I feel as though I'm not an idiot for spending $50 for this, because I'm sure that you will see, whether people are copying this design or not, even just coming up with ideas on their own, you'll see people make something that's sort of similar to this, but it'll probably be flimsy plastic, and this will start warping and sort of shearing on you, and it's not something that you'll feel as though, I paid $800 for this iPad. Do I really want to put it on this cheap piece of junk that cost about $20 to buy and probably cost $3 to manufacture? Maybe not. But this one, once you get it in your hands, it's actually available in the Apple Store. I didn't even know it existed until I visited the Apple Store one day and saw like dozens and dozens of these hanging up. And so yes, that was me just like perched for like 45 minutes, just typing just to see if it would actually seem like a worthwhile thing. It's a nice object. Again, not necessarily for everybody, especially with the price. But if you're looking for a combined easel and stand, I think this will do the job for you very nicely.
Put it in context, Andy. It's only $20 more than your bumper for your iPhone.
Than the piece of crap plastic. Yeah.
Exactly.
So from Griffin, available at the Apple Store, but also I'm sure at Griffin Technologies online.
It's also slightly iPhone compatible. You can, not the most useful thing in the world, but if you want, you can do.
You're desperate.
It's your iPhone brace. Let's go to our good friend Frederick Van Johnson from MediaBytes.com for his pick of the week. Frederick.
Hello. Well, my pick is actually Mac related.
Yay!
No, I have a. So I've been doing all this screencast stuff lately, and I know you guys have heard of this software before. It's called ScreenFlow. From I forget what the name of the company is, but
there's now some. It's Telestream. There's now some real competition in the screencasting area. It used to be just Snapseed Pro was it.
Yeah, but this thing no rendering and screen capture galore. But the interesting thing about it is I've been using it as an iMovie / Final Cut replacement. I mean, you can edit full-on video with this thing, not just screen capture. You just drag HD clips into it and add transitions, and then hit a button and send it straight to YouTube. I used it to record the screencast of the new This Week in Photo website and put it up there. And it literally last night took me, I don't know, an hour and a half to record the thing and upload, and it was done. You know,
it's actually
came out pretty well. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, that's fine. I was gonna say, you know, it was that's
okay.
I was gonna say we did this for photography. I was like, This Week in Photo. Look at the site.
This is the new This Week in Photo site.
Yeah.
What did you do this in?
This is done in WordPress.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So which is the video that you just most recently did?
Click on that top link on the right there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I clicked on the wrong one. Top link, a guided tour of the new TWIP. So you did a screen. This is a screen capture.
It's all screen capture. I captured the video of me talking with
That's what I like about this program. You can inset yourself into it, and you can. It has all sorts of nice transitions and things that, like that. That was a ScreenFlow transition. I recognized it.
Hey, Frederick here. Just wanted to give you guys a quick tour of.
And that video is just that was captured with a 5D.
So check.
Oh,
out
really?
This,
wow.
thing. So
I think nowadays we have some amazing video production tools in our toolkit here. This is $99 ScreenFlow from Telestream.com, and there's also, I mean, there's so many good choices. Have you tried Camtasia?
I have.
And you prefer this to Camtasia?
You know,
look
I think
at that. That's a nice effect.
Hairs.
Yeah.
You're splitting hairs when you get down to this level. It's more of a matter. It's like, you know, Aperture versus Lightroom. They both generally do the same thing.
Right.
But you can't beat either one of them. They're both $99, right?
And these effects and even that background, these are all very easy to do. You can do a mirrored, drop and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I've liked ScreenFlow for a while. I have to try it now. The new 2.1 just came out. And thisweekinphoto.com. Let's not forget that.
It's brand new.
It's brand new. It's beautiful.
Brand new.
It's very pretty. It's a really nice site.
Thank you.
Done in WordPress, huh? Kind of looks like a Squarespace blog. Okay, you don't have to use Squarespace. It's okay. We can live without it. Is it my turn? I think it's my turn.
It's your turn.
I believe it's your turn.
I believe it is. This is actually I have a couple of iPhone applications recently, and I'm sure you guys have all tried them, but I thought I'd mention them anyway. Starting with MapQuest. Have you seen the new MapQuest? This is a free mapping application for the iPhone. So with turn-by-turn and street names. So if you don't want to spend a lot of money on an iPhone app for turn-by-turn directions, MapQuest for mobile is actually pretty good. The one negative is you can see it doesn't scale very well. So it's like they didn't really. Well, actually, it's looking pretty good now. The maps aren't they're not as good as Google Maps. Let's face it. But you have turn-by-turn. You have traffic. You can turn on points of interest.
You need to be connected, right? It's web-based?
You need to be connected, yep. I did mention the other one that I like a lot that Andy likes, the MotionX, which has the same thing. The thing about MotionX is it will cache the maps up to 2 gigabytes. So if you're moving around in the same area, you don't need to be online. I don't know about this one. I just say I've been pretty impressed by this. It's free, right? It will give you the turn-by-turn. It will say the street names out loud. So that's a good one. Another one that is not only a good application but is in the news is Fring. I mentioned this before that it's available for the iPhone now with 3G.
What does Fring do?
Well, that's the interesting thing. It's a VoIP application, but you can use FaceTime on it over 3G.
Wow.
However, Skype got pissed off and disconnected. They said the Fring's violating their rules.
So Fring was sitting on top of Skype.
Well, it doesn't have to sit on top of Skype. It can sit on top of a lot of different things, including MSN and Yahoo and stuff. And you can even make direct calls yourself. But it does use 3G. It's a 3G voice app. I don't know, frankly, how they got this past the folks at so
Apple. Download it now before.
Quick.
Yeah, we're about to find out how many people at Apple listen to our show.
Get it now.
Exactly.
Facebook, Twitter connections. It does VoIP. It has its own VoIP client. It's too bad that they no longer have Skype in it. I hope they work that out with Skype. But here's the point. FaceTime over 3G. It does know the phone. You can get Fring on a lot of other phones, including the Sprint Evo with a front-facing camera, many Nokia phones. So this opens up the world of FaceTime to people other than iPhone 4 users.
So someone's on a desktop, theoretically.
I haven't tried that. I don't know. Can you Fring on a desktop? I should mention.
It does not sound right.
Let's fring everybody.
You can, but you can't keep falling off.
Everybody fring. So, and I believe it looks like that was launched, didn't look like that came out of, it looks like it's doing the background properly, which Skype does not still do. Maybe that's why Skype was peeved.
They should be peeved. They're way behind.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you
They
guys?
were on the stage.
They were on stage. If you hadn't been on stage, I wouldn't have. I mean, that was like a big reason I wanted the OS for, was just because I could run Skype in the background, and now, no love.
Frank can also be used to use Google Voice over 3G, so it really does support video, FaceTime, over 3G. Love it. And I guess there's no fring for the desktop, but if you're doing a Google Voice or a Yahoo or whatever, you would be talking to somebody on the desktop that way.
That's what I'm...
Yeah, I think so. You know what? Let's try it.
We need to get one of those things to do that.
One of these things?
One of the Skypeosauruses.
Okay.
We can... It's easy. Screw Skype. We're done with Skype.
Shh, don't say that yet.
DTM. Dead.
Don't anger it. We're still in its den.
Don't anger the Skype god. That's how we're
talking. Wait till we're...
I guess we're still on the show, right?
Bleep, bleep. Alex, we still have to record a show later. We're going to need Skype for that.
Skype is apparently a little prickly. Look how good Andy looks with his new camera, and that.
This has been like Cher's Las Vegas show. This is my third lighting change since we actually.
Perfect. It looks great now.
Don't change a thing.
Now it looks great.
Did you just get your eyebrows done? Because you look marvelous.
I should. Now I think I should. The other fun thing is now we can do cool things like this.
Oh! Look deeply into his eyes.
Hear the buffalo.
His eyes are green. The buffalo is black. The letters are yellow. If these colors don't look right to you, you need to get fring. Look at that. That's just horrible.
No, no, actually,
it's nice. No, it looks gorgeous.
I have the sort of face that needs to be backed off.
And look at the backyard and everything, or as they say in Great Britain, the garden. Just beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Andy Ihnatko, for joining us. Andy is, of course, the tech guy at Chicago Sun-Times, and his blog is www.cwob.com, and joins us every week. Always nice to see you, Andrew.
Always a slice.
Always a slice. Mr. Frederick Van Johnson is at MediaBytes.com. He's a photographer. He does This Week in Photography, and you can go to thisweekinphoto.com. The brand new website where it's lovely and always sunny and always great photography advice.
Yes.
Good show. Now that I have the GH1, I'm going to have to start listening. Have you covered the GH1, Frederick, in the...
We have not, but we certainly will, especially if I can get my hands on one. You know anybody with one that I can...
Yeah, Alex. Ask Alex.
Come up to the office for the test tomorrow.
Frederick, come to the office. I will come up.
Yeah, Alex Lindsay, pixelcore.tv for the podcast, pixelcore.com for that great guild of multimedia artists who are learning and working together.
We're streaming tomorrow. So
what does that mean?
Go to pixelcore.com tomorrow, but also if you follow me on Twitter, just Alex Lindsay, I'll post it when we're doing it. But we're probably going to stream almost all day. We're going to be shooting 4K MacBreaks because we can. Because YouTube.
Why not?
Well, we got to test it.
I forgot to mention that's a story. YouTube's doing 4K video.
So now. YouTube's doing 4K. So we're going to do a couple MacBreaks in 4K just to kick the tires.
4K is double.
It's the new 2K,
horizontal and width of high def. So it's 4 times higher resolution. And you have a 4K camera, a red.
We have a red.
It's the only
so
4K.
Kelly at All in One Truck.
He's going to bring his.
He's going to bring his red in. And so what you're going to see when you see us stream is you're going to see us recording those, setting up for it, getting ready for it. We'll stop and talk to people a little bit about it. And but we're just kicking the tires. We're having some fun. We know that it's a little over the top, so you don't have to tell me that right now. But first of all, you can never go anyway. So the. We're going to go a little over the top and do some 4K MacBreaks, so hopefully we'll be able to release the following week.
4K. And YouTube's going to support this? And,
they already do it.
With what kind of bandwidth are you going to need to look at it?
A lot. More than a telephone connection.
Is it true 4K? No.
Yeah.
But my screen isn't even that high res.
If you had a cinema display, you can watch it. It's going to be 1 to 1. We're going to put a cinema display up that we're going to capture from, and then you're going to see us 1 to 1. And so if you watch it on a cinema display, it will use every pixel that you have.
And you need a 4 megabit connection?
Yeah,
everybody
or
has that.
patience. Just
download it.
Just download it overnight. It's going to be downloadable. Or you can hit start.
You're killing me, because there was a time when I could just come downstairs. I didn't have to shave. I didn't have to change out of my T-shirt.
It's getting worse.
Then, okay, we're doing video. Fine. So I'm shaving and putting on clothes. And now I'm upgrading the camera, so now I have to look good clothes. Now for the 4K cameras, I'm going to need a makeup person, or at least I'm going to need like a stand-in.
So 240, 360, 480, 720, 1080p, and then
original.
An original is a 4K video, which I won't be able to play. It'll have to downscale it from my screen, right? And basically, that's what you're going to see is a completely frozen shot that barely plays.
Unless you work at the NSA, you do not have enough bandwidth to see any of these videos.
So, and these would have to be shot with a red. Nothing else does 4K right now, right?
Oh, there's other things to do 4K.
Are there?
But the red is the obvious choice to do that. And we're going to do
now that I've downloaded, if I rewind, I should get it without stuttering. No, because it's still too high a resolution for me to play.
Oh, for your little laptop, yeah.
My little laptop.
Now, if
you need an extra.
All I want to say is that when we did 1080p,
I know we did MacBreak at 1080p and nobody could watch it.
And people thought we were insane, and now there's lots of people doing HD. Like HD is now on the web. We're just 4 or 5 years ahead of time.
You thought you enjoyed videos of squirrels eating peanut butter out of coconut shells in the backyard. Now,
yeah, baby.
Wait till you get to see it in 4K.
Yeah, baby.
And we're gonna when we'll talk about this camera and the interface to this.
This is the GH1.
The GH1. Frederick will come up and do the show with me, right, Fred?
Mm-hmm.
Frederick, you're going to come up. It's in the morning. You have to be here early to do it. So anyway, so
for 11. Is that before 11?
Yeah. We're going to be shooting at 9. So anyway, we're gonna but we'll talk about this and the interface to it, to the to the Blackmagic intensity card, and whether we're getting uncompressed and how it looks and everything else. And we'll do that tomorrow streaming. And so you definitely want to check that out. And we're going to record it in 4K and then we'll put it up on YouTube just because we can.
Just because we can.
All your nerd parts are tingling right now. I can tell all the way from here.
I'm so excited.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for joining us for this week's MacBreak Weekly. We encourage you to come back again. We do it live, so you can see the full, unedited, unexpurgated version, including public nudity, every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or subscribe, download, and watch at your convenience at twit.tv/mbw. We are not in 4K, but we do have video, kind of. It's not even high def, really. In fact, I'm almost embarrassed. It's color. Almost embarrassed.
And that's only recently.
Yeah, really. Embarrassed to mention it, but we have audio, video, text,
you do
whatever.
require special color acetate overlays on top of your screen in order to get our form of color. But still, we're making the effort.
We're trying. We're doing our best. We thank Andy Guzman, who stopped by from Reno to join us. There's Andy. Stopped by from Reno to join us. And Pete Quadrio. Is that how you say it? Who's visiting from Australia. Where in Australia? Sydney, Australia. He has a bus pass, so watch out. That's what it says here. He has a bus pass. I guess he's going to travel all over the country.
So he's not here illegally.
He's not here illegally. That's right.
You're off of a visa.
And you brought somebody in, Brian.
Brian Epstein from Salesforce.
From Salesforce.com. Brian is looking at this and going,
this is just crazy talk.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Now get back to work. Break time's over.